Hey, what's going on, guys? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. Hope everybody's doing fantastic on this beautiful Sunday. Hopefully get ready for a Dolphins win. I got Game Day Uncensored, which is going to be coming your way at 4 p.m. on the WQM YouTube page, so hope you guys can check us on out there. But got a little Heat thing that I want to get into here because I found it interesting for a couple of reasons. One, we had just done a video a little bit ago, again, about Jimmy Butler's injury past and how typically, I didn't call it a deep dive, called it a snorkel, kind of perusing around the water. Once you hit the halfway point of the season, Jimmy Butler usually kind of clamps down. His games played are a lot more than in the first half of the season, when there's usually like a 12 to 15 game injury that keeps him out. Then it's usually like second night of a back-to-back. Those are the games that he'll typically miss the rest of the way. But found this interesting because obviously Jimmy Butler did try to come back on this road trip from the calf injury and ended up that game hurting his toe against the Jazz. And immediately I was like, well, probably going to be another 4 or 5 games before Jimmy Butler gets out here again. But I wasn't worried yet because my line for Jimmy is halfway point of the season. But great story in the South Florida Sun-Sentinel from Ira Winderman, who had reached out to Jimmy Butler's agent. And, great reporting from Ira because you're not going to get a lot out of the Heat. The Heat are not only not talking about Jimmy Butler, don't let Jimmy Butler be available. Jimmy doesn't want to be available to talk about his injury. Not unheard of. Caleb Martin did talk about his injury before the road trip hit, and he didn't play. But typically when guys are injured, they don't reveal anything, and the Heat are very, very secretive. They, Spo doesn't even like addressing it. As you heard this week with the one post game against the Clippers, he's like, I don't care about that. I don't care about that. At one point this year, I think it was with Tyler, he's like, I only want to talk about the people that are here. Bam actually had a quote. People kind of took it as a shade at Darvin Ham, where he was saying that he said Eric Spoelstra would never let injuries be an excuse, and so he Adebayo's quote was, Spo is never going to lower himself to blame guys being out as to why he's not winning. That's just not Spo. You got 15 guys on a roster for a reason. I feel like Spo tries to maximize all 15 guys. So a lot of Lakers fans taking that as some shade at Darvin Ham. But look, the Jimmy thing is an interesting story because of his age, because of, what his normal durability issues are during the regular season. When is it comforting that he's going to be back? And I did think that we got a pretty interesting update here from Bernie Lee, who is Jimmy Butler's agent. And first of all, it's revealed that he's has a sprained first MP joint, so that's a big toe that is messing with him. Bernie Lee texted to Ira, since the Utah game, we've been able to gather all the info we need to feel comfortable moving forward, and thankfully everything that's come back has indicated that this shouldn't be a long-term or lingering issue, which is great news. He'd obviously have a big homestand coming back. And you want Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, you're 35 games into the season. Like I said, my mark is like 6 games more, and you're like, all right, well, once you get into that second half of the season, I'm not making that a concrete date, but you want your best player back. He said, not to state the obvious, Bernie Lee goes on and says, but clearly injuries suck, but taking into consideration that 3 of the last 4 years Jimmy has led the team into playing in the conference finals or finals means Jimmy has played a lot of games that have bled into his offseason prep time for the following season. We are working to figure out the balance to that, but clearly it's a good problem to have, which was getting to my point in the Jimmy Butler injury video was like, this is kind of what you sign up for with Jimmy Butler. Like, first half of the season, the knick-knack injuries, Jimmy doesn't come back until he's 100. You don't want Jimmy Butler pressing through something because it could turn into something worse. Maybe that's what happened here with the calf toe. I don't know. But Jimmy Butler typically will wait a couple extra games just to make sure he's 100%, and you go from there. But, once he gets to the playoffs, the guy goes balls to the wall. He does hit a different level of intensity. Jimmy Butler plays very, very hard. He plays a physical game. He plays on both sides. So, yeah, that is the interesting thing with this. He said, a couple things extra from Jimmy's agent. Big picture, Lee continued. Someone sent me a quote today about Jimmy being on the other side of 30 with the implication. I'm assuming being that he's aging. I had to laugh to myself because reality is he's been on the other side of 30 for some time, for the entire time he's been in Miami. Truthfully, I see the way he prepares every day and goes about his craft. I expect he'll be doing this to the other side of 40. Which is that's an interesting quote from Bernie there. Because I don't picture Jimmy Butler being the guy who necessarily wants to play till he's 40. You know, you picture a guy who's got as many accolades as he does and how hard he plays and how much money he is making, deservedly so. I found that to be an interesting quote from Bernie because I didn't think of Jimmy Butler as somebody who's going to do the Chris Paul, LeBron James, play till he's 39. But, you know, Jimmy Butler does have extensions and all of that. You know, so that could be an agent thinking about the dollar signs and wanting to keep his client getting as much guaranteed money as possible. But I found that to be an interesting quote that he is he's gonna be doing this on the other side of 40. It's a lot of basketball left if you're Jimmy Butler. It's a lot of seasons. What it does feel like Jimmy's one accolade that he wants left is just getting that elusive championship. Bernie Lee closes out telling Ira, but the battle is today and is in front of us, and I expect him to power through as fast as possible like he always does. So there you go. Those are the comments from Bernie Lee to Ira Winderman in the South Florida Sun Sentinel. But the things that are interesting in this, one, doesn't feel like it's going to be a lingering long-term issue. That's great news. Kind of lines up with what we were hoping for when this next injury came about. Two, that, you know, the idea that Jimmy has had a tough time getting the prep that he needs. Now, that's an interesting one. You know, Jimmy obviously enjoys his off season as he should and is traveling, but has his own team that he brings together and does his own training and traveling, has his own basketball coach, has all that stuff. So wherever he is in Rio, like we've seen it, like he's doing the warm-ups, he's doing his work wherever. Is that the proper rest and recovery that he needs? I don't know. He didn't play any of the preseason. He was a dental thing. And was that a case of I just don't want to play in the preseason? I don't know. That's hard to say. But, this has kind of always been the pattern with him. And I do think that, I am not yet concerned that Jimmy is aging or in a different spot. I know there's been some numbers about his metrics and taking more threes and making less free throws. And all that type of stuff. It's not that lopsided. It's not like this is often some, it's a catastrophic drop off for Jimmy Butler. I think people do need to get a grip of themselves a little bit. And a lot of his numbers are very, very similar to what he has other than the rise in 3-point shots. And, the fall off of free throws is not catastrophic. It is not like he's getting to the line 5 times a game. It was almost 9 last year. It's a little over 8 this year. And the scoring is a little down. But these are not fall off a cliff numbers. Now, are they assigned to something? I don't know. I guess that's going to be something we're not really going to be able to answer until we get the full season, which I would like to get the whole scope of before we get to that point. Because I think even last year, once you got after the All-Star break, you saw Jimmy Butler ramping it up again stat-wise. It was interesting kind of seeing the Jimmy Butler ramp up with the Bam stat decline after the All-Star break last year. So that is going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye on with this team and where Jimmy's at. But, I am, you just want to see him back on the court. So to hear that it's not going to be something that lasts a while, definitely interesting. I understand the idea that he has been playing very deep into seasons, plays a very physical style. This was always kind of a LeBron thing. Didn't get to have the necessary turnaround when you're playing that many times. And hell, even Bam was recently talking to Windhorst in his column about, going deep into the season, not necessarily being 100%, recovering and playing the, having that whole situation sorted out when you get to his age of now, like you're in your 20s, you're fully in your 20s, you're not in your early 20s, and having to be prepping for being ready all the way into the off season. so into the postseason. So interesting stuff from Jimmy's agent, and a great article from Ira. Found it all very interesting with what he had to say about Jimmy's status.